Welcome everybody, welcome to OzByDrone. I'm Greg.
I'm John. Hi everybody. Great to have you with us again.
And John's coming to us today from the happy Hunter Valley. John, have you been getting into a little bit of the plonk while you're there?
You know, I haven't started yet. I just started with a mojito last night, but I think we're at a gin and jazz festival. So anything could happen for the rest of the day. It's only early though yet. So we're going to be playing today to 5,000 people, they tell me, and I figure that if it's a gin festival, we'll have half of them dancing on the tables and the other half will be crying in their drink.
Good to hear. So for those who don't know, by the way, I did use an Aussie slang term just a few moments ago. I'm curious, Lloyd's in the background. Do you know what the word plonk is, Lloyd? Have you heard that one before?
I'm sure they have, yeah. They invented it.
I've heard it.
Whoops.
But I wasn't
what happened there?
Plonk?
Plonk?
I think something plonked on the screen.
Into the wine?
No, the producer's telling us to get on with it.
Yeah, now getting into the wine, right?
Yeah, that's it. Plonk, mate. Plonk.
Yeah, okay.
Easy. Morning,
I thought
Lloyd.
that's what it was.
Morning, Lloyd.
Morning, Lloyd.
Hello.
Okay, so what's other than playing? How many people did you say you're playing for this today?
It's going to be 5,000 here today, which is great. But we're living in almost a post-COVID world here in Australia now. It's really amazing. You know, there's a couple of little isolated spots, but in the whole country, there's only just a few people that have got the dreaded lurgy. Vaccinations are rolling out pretty good. I'm done for vaccination now. So it's all pretty good. You know, I mean, life's good, and we're getting back to playing some music, which is good. And I took a few shots yesterday of the stage, so you can catch them up. I'll get those up for you. Great. It's going to do some flying today as well, so around the event.
Okay. And for those who don't know, John plays in a band. He's got a bunch of musicians and he's the drummer. But other than that, he's in the Hunter region. We've got to do it every time. Drummer jokes, where would you be without them?
Yeah. I got 13 musicians and a drummer. Exactly.
Sounds like fun. Let's get into it. We're going to start with the news. As always, OzByDrone News is brought to you by AirData UAV. And we ask the question every week, is your drone healthy? Do you actually know if your drone is healthy? Is it about to surprise you on your next flight? Don't wait to find out. Discover information under the hood and review the early signs of problems before you take off again. There's a discount code OzByDrone20, which will give you a 20% discount for their service. There's a link to their website in the description. But don't forget, you can try the free version as well. There is a free version of their product available. Do go and check it out. So without further ado, since we're talking today about the fact that you're at a music festival, the most important thing at a music festival is audio. And our first story talks about audio input. A New Zealand company has developed what it says is a world-first technology that enables audio capture on drones by blocking out the sound of noisy propellers.
What I was just trying to say might have been a call for help, it might have been critical instructions, it could have even been a threat. Up until now, there's been no way to tell because all UAVs are deaf to what is happening around them. At Dotterel, we've developed aerial audio, the world's first two-way audio communication payload that allows you to hear what is happening on the ground.
Okay, we'll leave it there and come back to the studio. But
the aerial audio payload.
What do you think of that, John?
I noticed he was shouting.
Look.
I mean, I figured it's very good. Noise cancellation technology, been around, got it in your headsets these days. And look, they're using it in aircraft too. So modern turboprop aircraft, which are known to be noisy, have noise cancelling in the cabin so that you actually, the speakers that you would listen to the captain talk on are sending out the signal, received microphone signal out of phase, which eliminates. It's great. It's good technology, good use of the technology. And I think we'll see that further. Of course, another really great way to be stealth would be, imagine you're able to noise cancel the sound of your aircraft, your drone, on the ground. So you're doing some sort of surveillance. Not that I suggest that that's an important thing, but if you were, then you would generate the sound and cancel the noise of the aircraft flying around. There was this movie one time about whisper mode on. Was that Blue Thunder? Was that the helicopter movie, Blue Thunder? You
Yes,
remember
Blue
that?
Thunder.
Yeah, wasn't that fun? And you had this whisper mode that would sort of like a noise cancelling. Anyway, I digress. Clever, good. I mean, great to see someone, finding yet another thing to put into our aircraft and use it. It's great.
So let me move on to our second story, which is related. This one is a Canadian firm. They've been working on solutions to the problem of noise, and they've just won a startup competition of $25,000 prize. That whine that we were talking about, the noise of drones, that can be annoying, especially if you're the person who's not involved in the operations. Now, let's have a look at this. Check this out. So this is the payload of, I think it's 3 kilos. I can't see the screen. It's a bit far away from me. And then we're going to have a look at the same payload with quiet props. Now, quiet props is nothing new. People have been deliberately trying to design quiet props for a while, but that was astonishing, the difference between the two.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Speaking of, just imagine pairing those two companies together.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be a really good pairing. But John, tell me, quiet props, what are they actually doing aerodynamically to make them quiet?
Well, the noise mostly comes out of the tips of propellers. And in fact, for many rotating propellers, you're hearing the propeller much more than you're hearing the engine in most cases. And so that we have a couple of different designs. One of the more popular ones is called a scimitar propeller, which uses an elliptical shape at the end of the tip, like they had on the Spitfire aircraft in the Second World War. Very efficient planform for an airfoil. And a scimitar type prop seems to reduce the tip noise. And the reason the tips are noisy is because most of the time the tips are reaching the speed of sound. Imagine a rotating object, of course, at the center, at the hub, you've got really, you could essentially say it's a rotational speed, but a zero speed. As you go further and further out, of course, you're actually traveling faster through the air. So often propeller rotor blades on helicopters are limited by the sound barrier. And as they approach Mach 1, of course, they get noisier and noisier. So there's a lot of aerodynamics involved in rotating propellers, although they are a wing, of course, just a normal wing. Unlike the wing that you have in a fixed wing, a rotary wing aircraft has all sorts of other aerodynamic issues going with it, because the speed of the airflow is different right across the planform of the wing, if you can imagine. Anyway, that's the medium answer. I won't be giving you the long answer today, because we'll be here all day talking about aerodynamics of propellers. But it's very, very interesting. You can Google some great stuff on it, and you can Google stuff which is particularly relates to quadrotors as well,
so
which is really interesting.
Let me ask one particular question. Is there a correlation between the amount of noise produced and the lift or thrust forces that are being brought to bear as a result of the propeller doing its stuff?
Not so much the lift or thrust forces, but the rotational speed at the tip. That's really kind of where it comes down to it. It is to do with the way it reacts with the air at the particular time. This air is creating that sound, if you like, splitting the air. But look, in terms of the amount of lift, of course, as you do increase, you'll hear a helicopter as it increases its blade angle. Most certainly you can hear a change in the wok, 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 wok sound as it starts to bite into more air energy. That's a given, of course, in terms of the way the energy's being taken over the blade. But a lot of the time, because the tip is changing, the propeller tip is changing. Interesting stuff. Go check some videos out, and if you're really interested, we are operating mostly fixed pitch propellers on our quadrotors, and of course that goes without saying. They're fixed pitch propellers. Look out for the future. I think we're going to see variable pitch and what we call flapping blade propellers on quadrotors where they'll actually have an axis and a balance point as well on the future, but mostly for much bigger aircraft, of course, where they're more complex.
Okay, let's move on to our next story. And 3D scanning is nothing new. 3D modeling is one of the core applications that people use drones for. Program the mission, capture the data, and put it all together. But what about if you're in a confined location? What about obstacles? Skydio, their solution, combines obstacle avoidance with the mission planning to capture data and build a 3D model. We've got an example of their model here. So obviously this is, going through and exploring the model once it's already been created. But just have a look through some of the internals as they go and move inside inside this old crashed airframe. It's a beautiful model, and this is what they're able to produce.
Photogrammetry. Great.
And again, this is going inside, so they're actually able to have their Skydio fly inside some of the structures that they're capturing to get more detail. Unlike if you were, for example, programming a Pix4D mission with a Phantom or a Mavic or something like that, the obstacle avoidance is just going to be too hard to do that, to capture that kind of data.
Now, here's an interesting catch-up. So now the Skydio's got a GPS. Now, most FPV guys don't fly with GPS, don't really need it. I know the new FPV DJI craft has it for all sorts of clever reasons to help people bridge across to fly non-GPS aircraft. But if you're doing Pix4D, you need that GPS tag. You need that actually positional tag. So the FPV guys, by actually taking a series of still photographs while they do their CineWhoop stuff, could create models inside all sorts of structures and buildings, of course, which would be real interesting as well. But there might be another way of doing that, but I haven't thought it through. But having the photos tagged is sort of part of photogrammetry anyway. So there have to be some way of doing that. But there's a whole other use for FPV aircraft, in terms of mostly because of their mobility and their agile nature, is able to capture all sorts of stuff. It's great.
I don't know specifically what Skydio is doing, but if they're going inside the aircraft, that's going to be a partially GPS denied environment. So are they using their sensors to calculate their own equivalent GPS information? I don't know the answer to that, but the output, that's what you can see certainly with the output model.
There's a certain bit of tagging, so occasionally images that are adjacent that recognise similar. So if you had one image that was GPS and knew the location, you have another overlapping imaging without the tag on it, it can actually create tie points between the photos and, of course, increase the positional accuracy of the model because it senses the different tie points. Sometimes you get 20 or 30,000 tie points in a 20 megapixel or 20 million pixel points of light. And so, it's interesting the way it tags together. So not every photo has to have it. You probably start with an overall. We often do this where we're doing a building, we'll do a circular flight around the building at different levels and create a general model, and then we'll actually fly manually up to close-up environment and we'll stitch those photographs to our general model, and it'll use the tie points to collect them even if the GPS isn't accurate. Anyway, I digress. Great idea. I haven't flown a Skydio yet. I'd love to hear people who are flying them and what they're like.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on. We got two more quick stories before we get into chat to our guest today. And the next one is, everyone's heard about the Ever Given. Okay, the Suez Canal Authority in Egypt has released drone footage of the Ever Given ship, but what they didn't release is this photo of the not the flight path, but the sea path of the Ever Given prior to its getting grounded. Now, I'm not going to make any comment about the image there, but the question that has to be asked is, was this a political move in some way, shape or form? Certainly when you're drawing a path that is easily recognizable immediately before grounding it and blocking the canal, that's a big maneuver.
Look, I just want to go and check that. I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet. Like I even found this thing about how to make your hair grow back. Well, look what happened. So that might not have been the case. I just put it out there.
No, seriously,
it's a funny
John,
story,
the photo is genuine. I've done the checking.
Well, it's a plot map of the ship's location, isn't it? Really, it's not so much a photo. So it's
Correct.
a plot map, and a plot map can be generated a number of ways. You remember the one we did of the kangaroo when the last A380 left Australia, and there's other ones. People have done that same shape, of course, with light aircraft north of Melbourne. It's quite popular using that same symbol.
Have you done that, John?
No, I haven't done that, Lloyd. Thank you very much for asking. But I have put in the waypoints to a flight to prepare to do that. So it depends. Of course, when you plot in the waypoints, there's a lot of decisions to make, to get the scale right. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that.
Whether to do it or not.
Yeah, right, like whether to do it or not. And what's the point? I mean, I've seen it a few times. But look, Greg, look, it's there's got to be something there for the conspiracy theorists to hang on to, I can tell you.
But let's just go back to the footage of them getting it out. Did we see all of that, or we did? Okay. I was paying attention to the footage. Moving right along.
Getting it out.
Okay. The next one that we've got is the Mavic Air 2, or the DJI Air 2S, as it's potentially being called. It hints at a 1-inch sensor and ADS-B AirSense. Let's just have a quick look at their teaser video first. That's all they gave us. They didn't give us much, but
there's
you can.
Plenty of rumours out there, I can tell you, about this aircraft. The Mavic Air 2, the one before this, the precursor to this aircraft, very, very popular, and it is a fine aircraft. There's a couple of things I'd love to see on this new one, and that is, of course, a mechanical shutter. Make it very, very usable for mapping and photogrammetry if it hasn't got this electronic shutter. However, looking at some photos that we've seen come out from Tech News, the Fly More combo for the new aircraft, the 2S, includes all sorts of things like ND filters and piggyback charging for phones off the battery. It's got the air controller, which we've seen come on the new Mini 2 as well, which has been good. The speculation is that this will be OcuSync 3, so it can be used with the goggles.
That's confirmed pretty much, yeah, the goggles V2, yeah.
We can also see from the photos that there are extra obstacle avoidance sensors at a 45-degree angle on the nose of the aircraft, so that when it's up and the body angles are higher, you're going to have obstacle avoidance forward, which would suggest using the goggles that in sport mode and obviously high speeds, the aircraft be very popular for fanging around with goggles on, like the FPV aircraft is. Look, the photos we've seen look pretty smart. It's really very much a Mavic looking aircraft in terms of its design. As I mentioned earlier before we came on, I still think they should put some of these optical sensors out on the legs of the aircraft to increase the visibility. The obstacle avoidance has slowly been, taking advancements all the time. It's quite amazing. Not having it on the FPV aircraft and using speeds, there are certainly plenty of reasons why people are crashing those without the obstacle avoidance. Look, the camera looks great. It's got a new camera. We can see a 3,500 milliamp battery has been, it's a 42 watt hour battery been registered for it. It's got a big heat sink on the bottom. There's certainly got to go for the goggles, but it's going to have all of those cool Active Track 4 is an advancement. I'm just scrolling through some of the rumour mill here now that it's going to have. So, I mean, it's going to be a great aircraft. There's no doubt about that. I don't know that you'd sell your Air 2 to get the S yet. that may be worth leapfrogging another one. But as an entry-level aircraft, this would be the new way to start. You wouldn't start with an FPV. If you don't need the Pro, this is certainly an aircraft that's going to be equal to the Pro 2, I believe, and it doesn't have the Hasselblad line on it. It's just going to be that much more refined with more processing power, better autopilot. All of that's going to be in there, so it's going to be a good airplane. But if you obviously for us, someone who's going to, what do I buy for my first aircraft? Well, now it comes down to either a Mini 2 or a Mavic Air 2S. They're the two. That's the answer. I mean, as far as I can tell, anyway.
So let's just pause before we go on to our next story and our guest, actually. We had a couple of super chats. Lloyd, can you put the first one up again just so that we can quickly talk to that from Wayne King? Good morning, Greg and team. Does anybody know where I can get some batteries for the original DJI Mavic Pro? Are they still available for sale on DJI's website? I haven't had a look. But
I don't think so. That's a tough one because they're different to the later Mavics. Don't know about that one. I mean, sometimes there are solutions that are aftermarket. If you wanted to go that path, when there's people aftermarket batteries, not something we use commercially, but it's still a good airplane though. A lot of people still flying the original Mavic Platinum for sure. It was
and I just did a quick little search. Mavic Pro intelligent flight battery available from Kogan, certainly here in Australia.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely should be readily available. The other thing I'd say is go to in fact, I'll put the link in the chat in a couple of minutes, the website where all of the hacking community lives. There's a Discord that's associated with that. You can join that Discord community, and even if it's not available commercially, those guys can source just about anything. The second thing, we had a second super chat in from Ben T. Can you put that one up too? Thanks, Lloyd. So the second super chat asking about the smart controller. Can it be updated to support OcuSync 3?
We don't think so. It might be a problem. I'm still not sure about that. As a corporate choice of DJIs, I'd say not. I actually think the smart controller has been a great device. I think the smart controller is going to move into the enterprise level aircraft completely. Your Matrice 300s and so forth, they're going to develop smart controller that way. What the rest of us are going to goggles. But it seems that way now that we're going to have either devices or goggles. Look, there's a lot of good reason to use your phone that I like with the Mini. I take photos or videos with the Mini. I just power the airplane down, and it's right there ready to send. I can edit it. I can add color to it. I can shoot it, and I can have it on social media straight away. Smart controller, I got to do the dump, and I got to do the connect, and do all that sort of stuff. The Mini is just wonderful for ripping out of the car, taking a quick shot, and it's gone. I mean, the thing is on social media before the airplane's cooled down. It's very convenient, and the goggles, obviously you have that with the goggles as well, because the phone plugs into that, and it can easily the photos are there as well inside screen.
Can I just say this is a personal opinion, but the whole smart controller thing, it was a good idea for DJI to start playing there, but it's not supportable for them because they're not an Android hardware phone developer long term. They've got someone who's gone and put that in there, a third party, and every time you want to go and do something new software wise, the complexities of reintegrating that, they would be smarter, I think, in my opinion, working out how can they build a controller that's got a phone or an iPad, a small iPad that can clip into it, a third party manufactured device where they don't need to own that piece of technology anymore. That would be a smart thing to look at, I think.
If you could snap it into the front, I know what you mean, like a smart. Now, I love my smart controller. I've got a Mavic 2 Zoom. It's a working airplane. I just rip it out and use it. But it is, as I say, it just does work. I tend to apply the FPV or the Mini 2. The Mini 2 is still, even though, guys, I've been raving about the FPV, the Mini 2 is still just such a wonderful airplane to own and fly. and so safe. So anyway, the only thing I wanted to mention, Greg, as you know from our pilot meeting this week, all the Mavic drivers be aware. Of course, if your Mavic 2 batteries were produced around September 2018, September October 2018. They're getting a bit long in the tooth, and what's happening is they're swelling in the base, and as they swell, they can swell in flight. They will actually unseat from the aircraft, and you'll have a complete power failure. So just watch that. Watch the batteries really closely. If they are about that old now, you're talking a couple of years old, think about retiring them early if you love your airplane.
What if you haven't actually used them?
Well, that's a good choice. Interesting, Lloyd, because we have noticed 2 of the 3 that swell didn't have a lot of use, but the gas build-up, one of the things we think is there was an aftermarket charger used, but I've got to be careful of those. Those fast chargers seem to have a little bit of gas build-up. Swelling comes from build-up of gas in the lithium polymer, and it's a chemical reaction. So it happens around the right temperature as well. So often the batteries are running hot when you get gas as well. So, and then sometimes they'll go back to their original shape, and you can put them in the aircraft. We are going to do a little bit more testing, and what we're going to do is we're going to run a cable tie around the aircraft, nice and tight, and we're going to test it and check the temperature and not let it unseat. But, that's extreme. It's not an easy way to, you don't want to be putting cable ties around your airplane. It's not good.
In my case, my batteries probably haven't been run down from flying more than 3 times since I've owned the Mavic Mini. So it's not like
that's a different aircraft. It's a different aircraft.
Mavic Air. What did I say? Mavic Mini.
Yeah, no, the Mavic Air, but the Mini and the Phantoms were different because you inserted the battery, so you could always tell swelling. You never got that problem of the battery unseating the same way. The clips were much better, and of course in the Mini it goes right into the fuselage, and there's a cap that goes over the back. The Mavic 2s, and obviously you can see from the new Air and Air S as well, have the potential for with the bottom swelling of the battery becoming unseated. So just a heads up to have a think about it, have a good look at the batteries, have a look at the date they were produced, and then get on the forums and have a look at that, because DJI are replacing some of those batteries. There was a production issue with those batteries at 2018. Leave it at that.
Okay, let's leave that there. And
gas build-up.
Let's leave
that
there. It's time to talk to our guest, and right now we have Elastic Studio as the name of the company and the website. Let's bring in our guest. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, hello from Switzerland.
Switzerland. Okay, so I don't hear a Switzerland accent though.
Nein, ich spreche ein bisschen. No, you're right. I've got more of a South African accent because I've lived all over the world, luckily. So South Africa, Mauritius, the UK for 3 years, and now Switzerland for 3 years. So
Okay. And just before we move on, I mentioned to you my father's South African, and if you want to just leave him a quick little Easter egg nugget before we move on.
Yes, I'll say this in Afrikaans. Dis baie goed om brandeplank te ry by Muizenberg.
Okay. I'll have to go and speak to him later on to work out what that was.
Something about the Easter Bunny, I think.
Hopefully he won't beat you when you do say that.
Okay. Let's move on though. So Elastic Studio, tell me about your photography business, your interest in drones. How did the two get together and what have you been doing? And then we're going to check out your clip. So big opening.
Yes.
Where did you come from?
So where I came from was watching one of those weird ads. I don't know if you recall. I don't know if it's a hoax or a real product, but they showed this thing where you could just take this drone and throw it in the air and it would follow you down a ski slope. It was something, I don't even remember the name of the brand. I think it was a Kickstarter thing. So I saw that, and now being in Switzerland, I thought it'd be cool to have one of those when I learned to ski, just to have that unusual photography thing. Anyway, so I went and found DJI, I did some research, and I got myself the Mavic 2 Pro. In fact, I've got it right here with me. This is Timmy, and it's the only one I have, and I'm just blown away by this product. honestly, it's one of my favorite objects in the world. Just how easy it is to fly, how amazing the camera is. So I think I've had the drone for about 2 years now. So it was a great learning curve to learn how to do aerial photography. And that's what I'm into now is making films and making experimental films and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So speaking of experimental films, we've got some of your material here that we're going to have a quick look at. Now, I've cut the audio out because I didn't want to have any issues with YouTube, but tell me what we're seeing here, because this is something a little bit different than your average drone shot.
A little different, yes. I noticed a lot of the videos up on all of these sites for drone photography, cinematography. They're amazing. And what I found was I needed to, once I'd edited about 2 or 3 of my films together, I found that they looked the same as all other drone movies in a way. So I came up with this, I was in the shower, this concept hit me, where if you had a film where half of the film is always upside down, and that means if you turn it upside down on your tablet or your phone, you'd have, not with this shot because it's a symmetry shot, but with all of the others, you'd have a different feeling when you look at this shot from upside down. So the film is meant to be viewed first one way, and then you turn your device around and you watch it again. And with all of these, I had all of these pieces of footage where I was shooting on sort of cloudy days, and my favorite time to shoot is when the clouds are out. And I almost by accident, I found that the kind of panning, the shot where I was going around something, where I matched the two together, I got this really cool feeling from it, when I matched the speed eventually and then put a soft mask on it. And each one is really just 2 shots. But a lot of the trick of it is just to make sure that the sun is in the same position in both shots, because then the lighting matches. So that's how this duality thing came about. It was almost a happy accident.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely stunning. And this came to me in our news feeds as we're gathering the news every week. This was one that came into the algorithm, and I saw it and I said, I've got to have this guy on. So tell me, what else have you done? This is one experiment. What else do you do with your drone photography, either commercially or just because you like doing it?
Well, currently that was my first kind of foray into a little bit of filmmaking, my first experiment. I'm currently working on my next one, which is bizarrely enough a space movie, but it's just drone photography. And part of it is because I noticed that the Mavic 2 Pro is able to look up quite a lot. A lot of drone photography is looking down. So I must be a weirdo. I just like looking at things in a different way. And so I'm taking this tool and I'm just seeing how I can make films that are different from all the other, or a lot of the other drone films out there. I mean, obviously, the one you just saw now, Duality, there are films like that already. There's a guy in Mexico who does a lot of that sort of stuff. But I'm trying to find that thing that I can make with this. I want to make visuals that are unusual. I think probably because of my graphic design background of doing Photoshop and compositing things together. So it's quite a cool, unexpected journey. This film has done so well at, it won at SkyPixel, the DJI, what do you call it? Gallery, right? It just won best film for, in the hometown category. So I've just won myself the new FPV drone and the Ronin SR2 gimbal for my camera. So it's brilliant.
Absolutely. So
yeah,
you just mentioned your background. Tell me what you're doing when you're not doing the stuff in the air. Are you traditionally a photographer?
I am Firstly, I'm a graphic designer, so I do brands and websites and that sort of thing. So all of my visual thinking comes from that background. I then developed into a photographer, but an iPhone photographer. Again, I think I've got this thing. I love making things with as little as possible. So that's my second thing is photography, and then also I make music as well, but also with very little. So I'll use GarageBand, for instance, to make the track for that thing. And then the drone part of it is really, it just fits in so well, because what a concept to be able to take a camera, a 4K camera, and to be able to put it anywhere. It's quite mind-blowing, right? Like it's insane. So I'm just going to see how far I can push this thing. And then, of course, when that FPV drone does arrive, that's going to be a whole new learning curve.
So speaking of the FPV drone, let's ask if John has any comments or questions, because he's certainly been playing with the FPV drone. John, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is great. I mean, I just love the way people come into the hobby, the space here, with creative ideas. You know, we all, human beings, we just want to be creative. We want to do something that, you know, that we become passionate about. And aviation is kind of, it has a number of great elements to it and our hobby has a huge scope for creative people. There's not a lot of scope. If you love gliding, of course, you can be so creative, I suppose, as much with your flying. You may not build and design gliders. You know, we've got the complete scope, and I just love the way, you know, Craig, you approach the idea. What can I do that's different? What's going to be, you know, change what I do? And I think I think that's what I love about it most. Whether it's design ideas, whether it's production ideas, whatever it is that we all have that desire in us to, and that's what makes us love this sport hobby so much.
Yeah. And I must say also, I love the name of your business, the Elastic Studio, in the context of something that taking the original and putting it into some other form and stretching it and manipulating it. I think it's a very appropriate description for what you're doing.
Cheers.
But let me now move on to one other thing. We do like to have a little bit of fun with our guests, and normally we have Stump the Yank. Unfortunately, we can't stump today for a number of reasons. Our stumper has left the room. Lloyd has left the building.
Lloyd.
So where's he gone?
Well, while he's away, I can tell you one small little thing.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, right?
Okay.
This thing about making a film that's half upside down and making something different. I learned that from a guy who used to be the president of the Cannes Advertising Film Festivals. He was the jury president for years, and he came to our ad agency once and did a workshop on creative thinking with us. But this pertains to everything. This is not just advertising or drones or films or whatever it is. It belongs to life. And he said, part of the judging thing is when people look at work, and this is, you know, whether it's on Instagram or at the Cannes Awards, is if you see something and then you see something else that's similar, it doesn't matter that they were both original ideas. The fact that you see one and then you see the other means that they could never win an award. They were just kicked out, even though they were brilliant. And he said, all ideas, you know, most of them have like a 45-degree angle of how to approach something. But then there's all of those angles that no one has thought about yet. And so the possibilities specifically for drone photography and cinematography, like you just saw in your article there with the helicopter, the
3D model,
the body of it. Yes, exactly, right? Like that whole thing, that whole 3D thing, that blew my mind when I just saw that now. But there are possibilities that we haven't even touched yet with the same tools that every single person has. So I just wanted to share that because that was a big aha moment for me when I was sitting in that boardroom and I heard that. And maybe this will resonate with someone who's watching right now and will make them do something that's way beyond what we're seeing even in the best of the best. So yeah, just that concept.
Some interesting inspirational thoughts. I tell you what we'll do. Well, here's Lloyd coming back into the room.
Is he going to try and stump me now?
Let's just put Lloyd full screen. Leave him there. Just watch him come back.
Maybe he was bored.
Hello.
So, you guys waiting on me?
Good evening.
We're always waiting on you, man.
Okay, so we're not going.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to play Stump the Yank.
Well, we couldn't stump the Yank. We need to can the Afrikaan. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's that fun time of the show where we like to make fun of our own Aussie slang and at the same time make our guest look like a galah. It's time to play Stump the Yank.
Okay.
Bring it.
Oh, let's just start out with what's a chook?
A chook. Oh, that's brilliant. That's a chicken. Same in South Africa.
Okay, I'm getting tired of playing against these friggin' Commonwealth people. Y'all speak the same damn stuff.
Oh, so one more thing. You were talking about plonk, right? Before wine.
Yeah, plonk. Yeah.
Same in Cape Town. It's called. You're gonna have a white one. You'll have it's plonk de plonk.
See, in the United States, every little area has their own way of speaking. You Commonwealth people just all. I'm losing at this game. I tell you what.
Welcome to South Africa, my friend.
Yeah. That's actually a place I would like to go to, along with Australia.
Oh, it's great.
All right. Yeah, here I thought I had it. Well, that was an easy one anyway, so.
What else have we got? There was one we were mentioning at the beginning of the show, Lloyd. There was one we were mentioning at the beginning. I can't remember what it was now. What was it?
Oh, I actually listened to John for a little bit, so I've slept since then.
Let me ask my wife. What was the one before?
Thanks very much. Now, let me tell you about propeller dynamics one more time, Lloyd. If you need a little sleep there, I can go into rotary aircraft aerodynamic principles. That'll help you. Yeah, that'll help you.
So let me ask one. This is the one we were talking about before. What is a ute?
Oh, that was it.
Oh, okay. That would normally be, let's see, the brand would normally be a Toyota on the back of that. And, right? And that's a 4x4 utility vehicle, possibly.
You've got it again. Okay, John, come on, your turn.
Come on, John, help out.
Go Southern Hemisphere. Brilliant.
Yeah, I maybe I'd go vintage. If I go back, do you ever heard of what a bodgy is?
Ooh.
I broke up with her a long time ago. No, I have no idea what a bodgy is. No, I don't.
That's pretty close. They used to call them bodgies and widgies. Do you remember those titles, Lloyd? Bodgies and widgies?
Actually, yeah, I've heard. Because I was just scrolling through my list of stuff, and bodgy was one of them, but I lost it.
Yeah,
and I was just a bodgy or widgie.
Yeah, bodgy or widgie.
Bodgies and widgies referred to a youth subculture that existed in Australia and New Zealand in the 1950s, similar to the rocker culture in the UK or greaser culture in the United States.
Yep.
Whoa, I learned something new. Oh, that's 2-1.
It's something you can forget pretty quickly because I don't think it.
You got me.
Yeah, not in today's climate.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, it was fun having you on. Thank you for being part of our little bit of fun and frivolity. I'm going to ask you one last thing. I did ask you to prepare a joke or two. Let's get that 3-shot back up and see if you can, if the other guys can keep a straight face or not. Here we go. What's your best joke?
Oh, the best joke I can't share here. Yeah, obviously, obviously. But I've got the worst joke, right? The worst joke, because I haven't told jokes for so many years because people don't seem to tell jokes anymore. It's the weirdest thing.
They don't have a sense of humor. That's the problem.
Right? So so I don't have anything you're going to laugh at, honestly. Here, a little bit of Swiss culture for you. So two Swiss Army guys ended up having a knife fight, and then a corkscrew fight, and then a small scissors fight, and then a toothpick fight. Figure that one out. I know, it's not a joke, is it?
But it was good. It was good.
It's going to keep me guessing for a while, I can tell you.
I'm sitting there trying to.
Okay, I'll tell you what it was. They were having a Swiss Army knife fight.
Swiss Army knife fight.
There we go.
Knife fight.
Of course
God.
they were.
Terrible.
That's good.
It was good. I'll pay that one.
That one made me
like it.
laugh, and I don't usually laugh at jokes, at least not on the show.
Especially mine.
Cheers. That's generous of you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
that was
just before we go, just a comment from Ready Set Drone, OzByDrone. This guy is amazing. Ready Set Drone, great drone channel, and it's good to see that comment from him.
Wow.
Ready Set Drone is asking, what are budgie smugglers? It's one that we've asked many times. Do you know that one?
Yes, I think I can figure this out. Budgie smugglers. Wait, it's either something like pants or bra.
You mean I didn't go with my classic budgie smugglers, and he didn't know what it
and he
was?
didn't know it.
Shit.
Oh my God.
I mean, sheep. I didn't know it. I didn't know
no.
it. You got me. What is it?
Speedos.
It's Speedos.
Speedos.
Yeah.
Oh,
Swim
pants.
trunks.
I was close. Right.
Okay.
Close, you
Budgie
were
smugglers. Right. Banana hammocks. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, Craig, thank you for being on the show today. You're a great,
Thank you so much.
great guest to talk to you about your creative stuff, and it was good having a laugh with you as well. We're going to get back to the regular programming now, and we hope to keep in touch with you. By the way, Craig's website has been coming out in the chat room. There's a link to the website in the chat room that's coming out every now and again, or in the description for the video. So do go and check out his material. So let's move on. John, back to the news.
Yes. What do we have next?
Well, after that, I can only say it's time to brace for impact. Let's just get that music totally out of the background there. Brace for impact is the title of this story. Researchers at Virginia Tech University, working with State Farm Insurance and Parazero drone safety systems, have answered the question of what happens when a drone crashes into a windshield. Data gathered from the study resulted in State Farm getting an FAA waiver to fly over moving vehicles back in 2019, before the FAA released their rules for flying over people and moving vehicles. Now, let's just watch. So there you go. Now, is that a surprise?
Look, there's a lot in that you could look at a few times. So certainly the angle of the glass. The speed that's involved. Does it mention what speed the vehicle's going? We don't know what speed the aircraft. We don't know what actual energy is being expelled at that moment. You can see a little bit of movement in the glass though, which is incredible. See the way the glass flexes, but it doesn't shatter.
So I can tell you, they were able to demonstrate conclusively that drones can be flown over cars safely when the cars are driving at speeds under 62 miles per hour. So the collision impact was 62 miles per hour.
Yeah. I don't think the drone would have come off very well.
No, and that's fine. Since the demonstration shows that the key differentiator in terms of safety is speed, regulators are able to define operations that don't pose any danger. The slim margin between a virtually pristine windshield and a destroyed one drew a clear boundary around low-risk scenarios, according to the release. The data showed as long as the potential relative impact speeds never exceeds 62 miles per hour, flights over moving vehicles presented minimal risk. And he's either stunned or we've lost him. That is a beautiful shot, though. Okay, let's go to Lloyd in the studio for a little while until we get Mr. Morrison back. But I think that's a good one. For those of you who are commercial operators and you're doing risk analysis and you're getting... you're putting together your risk plan for a particular flight. That's a useful piece of data and research to include. So, let's move on to our next one. In the meantime, and yeah, he still looks stunned on the screen there.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He put himself to sleep this time.
Yeah. Let's move on to our next article.
He hypnotized himself.
Valkyrie has been working on their drone delivery platform. We all know about the challenges of end consumers getting close to a delivery drone during takeoff and landing. Inspired by parcel lockers, Valkyrie has developed a parcel locker that will get delivery items in and out in an unattended manner. Now, this is not a current video. It's been out for a while, but I hadn't seen it before, so I thought it was appropriate to share with you.
Okay.
Do you have parcel lockers in the US where, at certain different regional locations, courier companies can drop off parcels and stuff and you pick it up with a code or something?
I live in Muskogee, Oklahoma. If we had anything like that, it'd be in Tulsa or Oklahoma City, but we're too backwards for that. Backwards for that.
Yeah.
But no, because unfortunately, anything that would be left there would probably be stolen. Just a fact.
Yeah.
Although I did notice something similar to that when I went to Lowe's. If you do an online order and it's a small item, they have lockers just in the entrance that you can go and scan your code in and then open up, get whatever your item is that you ordered.
But certainly the interesting thing, just looking at this video, the interesting aspects of it for me are obviously, number one, making it work reliably and without any risks of people that are going to be actually using it. So it's landing from above. Judging by the height when the guy was there, that's out of the reach of most people. It's landing on the top, making it reliable, the arms going and pushing the packages in so that it's aligned appropriately, getting it to the right box, all of that's automatic. So I think they're onto something there. There's a lot of people who have reservations about drone delivery being actually practical. But if you can work out a way to solve some of those problems and get it not to your front door, but to somewhere close to you, I think that might take off, pardon the pun.
I just don't see that it's going to be something here in the States that will use that. It's just not that practical for at least for my part of the country.
Let me ask you this, Lloyd. If you had a local mail delivery service guy and he was going to one of these lockers and he was the one getting it out and then doing the last mile and putting it to your front door, would that work for you?
Yeah, I suppose, but I still believe in the old-fashioned truck, or ute, as you guys would say. I think it's like I can order something from Amazon and they drive to my front door, bring it right and drop it off of my front porch, and they use a vehicle. They couldn't do that with a drone. And, mind you, they get it from a warehouse, but they truck it down here from Tulsa. But to me, the practicality of that is just a gimmick. I mean, it's look at all the gimmicks have been in the computer industry. I think about the 90s when before the tech bubble. Everything's about a drone now. Back then, it was about hey, we're going to make you millionaires. We're going to build you 1,000 widgets, and we're only going to charge you $150,000 a piece. And some idiot with lots of money paid him $150,000 a piece for a bunch of widgets. Didn't know what the hell a widget was, but he bought a bunch of them, and they never existed. It all collapsed. And I think the same thing with this drone delivery stuff is going to collapse too.
Yeah,
it might work in China,
we will see.
where everything has to be built up, but here in the open part of the country, it's not practical. Not with the batteries they have right now.
Yeah. So the next story is one that I definitely wanted John to be around for, and unfortunately his internet crapped out. As we said earlier, he's in the Hunter Valley Not sure exactly what happened, but let's go with the story anyway. So this one is Avionics has announced its flagship mode ADS-B out transponder for UAS, and it's received Technical Standard Order, or TSO, certification from the FAA. This device is called a Ping 200X. It's now certified for use on civil and defense manned and unmanned aircraft. So, I mean, that's the first time I think I've seen something certified with ADS-B out for unmanned aircraft. I don't know. I would have asked John if he'd seen other things before, but yeah, that one stood out for me. Oh, I don't know if you heard that. It sounded like...
Yeah, I did. I was in there going, wait a minute, that's coming from your side, not mine.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go and deal with that in a couple of minutes. But in the meantime, let's play our next clip. We've only got couple.
It's that new soundboard that you ordered. It's out front, and they're honking to tell you to come get it.
Something like that. Something like that.
Yeah. Or your daughter saying, open the garage door for me. I want to pull my car in.
She's not here. John just messaged me back and said the network dropped out. So he's lost network connectivity in that location. But anyway... Our next one is a aircraft crash, specifically an experimental aircraft. Sorry, what?
That's a good title. I was just thinking about the show last night we all watched. Crash.
Yeah, it did crash just a little bit. At the end of the show, I might quickly comment on a few of those things. But this one is a crash of an experimental aircraft. This clip contains drone footage of this experimental plane test that ended upside down after a crash landing. So here's the aircraft before. This is the before shot. You've got to have a before and after. We didn't unfortunately have the during, but we did have drone footage of the after, which is why I thought I'd include that. So it's landed upside down. And again, if you want to have a look at more information about this story, as
it sort of
all
reminds
of our stories,
me of what Mel was talking about doing his inverted whatever with his FPV drone. I think his ended up the same way. Maybe he took flying lessons from Mel.
Okay, possibly. If anyone does want to check out those stories, go to the links that we've got in the description for our video to see more about that. We've got one or two more. Now, this one, what time have we got? 57. We'll finish with this one today. This is just... I don't know how to describe this. The title that I've got is just Weird Ride, and I'm waiting. The little clock is spinning at the moment because it's decided it wanted to re-render it, and I can't say that this is Wirecast. This is Title Alive. Okay, it's finished now. There we go. Now I can press the button. It's going to be a while before most of us can visit Chongqing, which is the place where this is, but until that day comes, here is a drone's view of a really insane Chinese thrill ride that dominates the region's Wolgong Bamia Mountain. The rides began operations last year, but this is the first time that we've seen it. And throughout, it might be new for our readers as well and our viewers here. The Flying Kiss is about a 2.5-hour drive from downtown Chongqing. Two giant moving statues slowly move guests above a cliff that overlooks the Wu River. The statues are about 170 feet high, and the cliff is about 3,300 feet above the river. Thrill seekers hover pretty close to a mile above the scenic Wu.
Would you ride it?
I've still got our guest in the background there, and he's just shaking his head thinking, what the...
Yeah. No way. I want to know, how do they get up there? Crawl up the arm?
No. Put it back on. I'll just get my producer to put it back on. Switch back. They're ground, and it's elevating as it spins. Yeah.
No way.
That's
I
a
can see one of them
YouTube
big
video
suckers
waiting to
falling
happen.
over halfway up and going over the cliff. Yeah.
That's going to be on YouTube in the future. That's just...
Yeah. When it
Mm-hmm.
So would you go and photograph that as in terms of elastic photography? It's certainly interesting subject matter.
Oh, sure, for sure. Just to go and see it. It's so weird. It's crazy. For sure, I'd go and see it. Just wouldn't be on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we do have one more story that we're not going to do today. We've run out of time. We've got to the end of our 1 hour show. But do go and check out the link in the description for the last story. Sunrise Water Media says, I'd be terrified. Yeah, it's just, it's not that it's thrill ride scary. It's that it's weird scary. That's the only way I can put it. But that last story that we've got is what's called a ghostly tour. Do go and check it out as your supplementary OzByDrone story. This is the Whitney Tower block, and it's been empty for over 50 years, and we've got some really, really beautiful drone footage in and around that tower. Go and check it out. It's really good. And as Nightbot said, our guest has been Elastic Studio. There's his website. Do go and check that out. One last thing before we finish the news, OzByDrone News is also supported by No Limit Drones. Do you feel like your drone is weighed down by chains when you are flying? Take off the chains and fly without limitations. Check out nolimitdrones.com for more information. And as always, if you would like to send us something, that's where you send it. Upload at gregkuhnert.com. What are you laughing at, Lloyd?
Nothing. Just go on with the show.
Okay. It's going to be another one of those. Follow us on social media at OzByDrone on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and DLive. And if you want to send anything to us, there's the address 5/127 Princess Highway, Sylvania, New South Wales 2224. Have I been missing something?
Greg, if you didn't read off a script and use a teleprompter and all that, you'd actually see what was going on behind the scenes, what I'm doing to make John laugh and to make our guests laugh. And, but you had to read a teleprompter.
I do look up. It's just that I wasn't at that exact moment. So
I was showing support for No Limit Drones.
Thank you for that. Can you put that back on the YouTube thing again for me? That super chat that just came in.
Yeah.
Thank you, Northern Tier FPV, for your $5 super chat. I haven't seen you on here before, so welcome to the channel. Definitely appreciate it. Let me have a quick look at any other chat messages that have come in before we go today. I remember when you had Ken Heron on. Where's he at? Yeah, okay. So let's just quickly talk about that. So Ken's show yesterday was challenging.
It's called a Charlie Foxtrot.
Yeah, there was something in Wirecast, which is the software that I unfortunately use as well. I want to quickly talk about that just because I've never properly done it. Wirecast could be a really good piece of software, but instead it's got bugs in it. And those bugs, there are so many of them, and I reported all of these bugs to the people who make the software, and they got sick of me reporting bugs all the time, so much so that they said, we don't want you as a customer anymore. They actually sent me a letter telling me, use something else. Can you believe that they actually would put that in writing? Don't use Wirecast because our software sucks.
Yeah.
That's basically what they said.
What's really sad is, of course, everybody that follows my show know that I use vMix, which I have very little problems with.
The three people that follow your show.
People that follow me regularly. Some people don't know it, but, anyways. Sometimes I don't know it, but anyways. vMix is made in Australia. Wire Trash is made in the United States. The company is owned by people in the United States. It is sad for me to have to say that, but the Aussie stuff actually works better than the American stuff. And that's really sad.
Mm.
Go Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah. So let me just finish. Let me just finish the story. So on Ken's show, sorry. What is sadder? Yeah. Yeah, it's sad that I'm using the American stuff when I'm an Aussie. Unfortunately, I can't use the Aussie stuff because they don't make a Mac version. Otherwise, I would. But back to what happened with Ken. So his show was going along, and there was an upgrade to something a little while ago. I don't know what. That causes everything you screen capture from another monitor, and if he's playing out a video and wants to play it out, he's screen capturing it. That just caused his computer to lock up. So that's what's causing the problem. How are we fixing it? He's getting a HDMI splitter, and we're going to have that come into another input interface on his computer and fix it with hardware instead of trying to use the buggy Wirecast screen capture. One day, we might convince him to use something else. One day, I might actually get off Wirecast. By the way, I have actually started working with something else and putting it together, and it's starting to come together. It just takes time to learn it and get ready to cut over. But here's one thing. I want to share one other thing. If they wanted to say they don't want to talk to me anymore, they don't want me to pay them money for support, that's fine. But I've still invested roughly $1,000 in the original software, which I can't use anymore because they won't support it. And as soon as the next version of Mac's operating system comes out, eventually it's going to stop working. So I'm pissed off because I never got a refund from them. If they don't want me to use their software, fine, refund the money. But they're not an ethical company. Anyway, I've had enough talking about Wirecast for now.
So do you feel better now?
Yeah, I've let it out. Okay.
Good.
That's all we've got time for. It's been fun having our guest. Any last words from you?
Thank you. Just to say that this brilliant episode has been brought to you by Wirecast.
I've got to have you back. Except that it's what time is it for you now?
It's 4:07 in the morning.
4:07 in the morning. Thank you so much. You've been an absolute gem of a guest.
Thank you. Thank you.
And there's someone who just did another super chat. Ken Heron, $10 super chat. Greg Rules. Ken, go and look up our guest. Go and check him out and get him to come on your show as well. That means you're going to have to stay up again one day, but it will be worth it.
That's cool. I'm a fan of Ken's. Wow.
Yeah. Go and Ken, go and look him up. Thanks. Okay. Thank you very much again. Grumpy, any last words from you?
Not really, other than wire trash sucks.
Okay. That's all we've got time for. It's
That's for
been
you,
fun.
Ken.
Yeah. By the way, after I stop on screen, I'll go and put the Wirecast support link. If anyone wants to let Wirecast know your feelings, I would encourage you to use that support link and pass on your feelings. And feel free to tell them that preventing someone from updating their support is unethical when they paid for the software in the first place. Feel free to tell them something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, because that stuff's not cheap.
Yeah, well, they didn't give me a refund. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the show. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.